Whoop whoop, everybody. So I probably didn't do this right since like no one's on here. Probably clicked to the wrong video. What's up, Ralph? Missed you this weekend there, Black Mamba. Hello. Truck and car all situated, dude? Wish you could have made it out, homie. All right. So everything good with the wife and family, buddy? Maybe. Cool. Eric and Ralph, the only two people I really want to talk to anyway, so it sucks that you guys both missed out. Cool, it's all fixed. Awesome. Yeah. It sucks that you guys missed out this past weekend. It was different than beta, believe it or not. It was just as good, if not even better, just because it was, bigger place, bigger AO, whatnot. We give it another minute, see if anybody else wants to jump in here or not. Maybe couldn't get a hold of Alex, so I hope he's getting on board with this as well. But so Survive Omega did Desolation this past weekend down at Skirmish Paintball. Definitely different than the beta game. Much larger place. Lower attendance, unfortunately. The weather seemed to chase a lot of people away. I think we had about 30 people. And I think we had almost like 50 tickets sold, so a bunch of people did not show up. But I get it. Weather was very interesting because it was actually kind of really real-life survival situation. I don't think we could have recreated some of the challenges. What's up, B-House? I don't think we could have recreated some of the challenges that nature provided for us this past weekend. And it was really one of those weekends where you had to kind of really, gauge and read the weather and be prepared for it. I think the weather really put a hurting on everybody. Much to my massive respect for all the participants, as well as just massive respect to the people out there that nobody actually left. Going into Saturday morning, it was so bad that me and Alex talked about all the worst case scenarios that we were going to have to deal with. The weather was extremely bad, but definitely wasn't as bad as the woods as it was in the open ground. Everybody powered through. So Desolation was a pretty outstanding event for all those who attended. The brave and merry few that were there. I know Alex and I are both pretty happy with the way things went. Again, especially because of the environmental conditions that Mother Nature put forth on us. What's up, Matt? Everybody else involved who are missing their cooler. Everybody, love y'all. So Desolation was supposed to go from Friday all the way through Saturday. Unfortunately, we kind of botched a few things up. We had some staff that couldn't make it there in time. And we kind of delayed our entry. We were supposed to start getting people out in the AO at 2, and I don't think we actually got people out there until about 4. So we're about 2 hours behind. Hindsight being 2020. What's up, Ty? Thanks, Jim. Glad you made it out. Hindsight being 2020. We now realize that just because we want to do a 40-hour event only works if we can make sure all the key people are there early enough to do that. So when we start talking about 2019, how we may reapproach a couple of things, I'll talk about that. So Desolation was supposed to be our first 48-hour event. I think it ran to about 44-ish hours. I think we cut it. We started 2 hours late and we ended 2 hours early. But I think, the weather just drained everybody so much that we just didn't really find it worthy of the event just to push it for 2 more hours, just so we could say we ran it for 2 more hours. A lot of things in the game, whether they seem scripted or not, they're really not. It's basically us setting up some variables, seeing how the variables develop, and then guiding them to a better resolution than if they were left unguided themselves. And that's why it's so important to have key people that we trust implicitly involved in our company in the form of community leaders, role players, staff, or just seasoned, experienced people, because these are the people that help as this drop of bead is starting to dribble down a piece of board, is to make sure that that drop of water doesn't drip over either side, that it goes from the top of the board to the bottom. It won't be a straight line. We don't know how it's going to go, but we just don't want that drop of water to fall off the edge, because that's when you lose a drop of water, and in the game sense, things don't go well. But we had key people involved throughout the event that I think made the event an exceptional event. Again, weather conditions aside. So for anyone that wasn't there, basically 11 p.m. Friday, we got hit with about almost like 40 miles an hour wind and some torrential downpours that pretty much went throughout the entire day Saturday. Thankfully, there was a little lull on Saturday, and then it started to mist pretty much throughout the evening up back into rain until Saturday night. Sunday, knock on wood, was basically rain-free for the most part, a little misting in the morning. But really at that point in time, I think everybody was cold and soaked, as far as that goes. Individuals, Eric, as far as that goes, it's just something that as event promoters, we realize that we just got to make sure all our pieces are there. And if all our pieces can't be there till later in the day, then it may behoove us more just to start later, and or start the next day, because again, it's all about it's not about quantity with us, it's about quality. We don't need a lot of people. We don't necessarily need to do a week-long event. As long as we can make sure that people are challenged and succeeding in their challenges, and it's a quality experience. That's what's important. It's not big numbers, people or time-wise. As far as we anticipated, incepted, and now are learning. But there's other things that me and Alice could have done. I guess we're going to start with the negatives here. We started with the weather. Weather was tough. Chilly. I don't think it really broke 40 all weekend long. It definitely dipped down, probably colder than most people realize. It was probably getting close to freezing on most nights. I know Thursday night when we got there, we woke up Thursday morning about 6 in the morning, and it was about 26 degrees with a real feel even lower than that. But the staffing. I guess just to reiterate what was just said here. Staffing up appropriately. Absolutely. There's an exponential scale that goes with anything. Whether you're working on a game mechanic or staff or population, as far as that goes. We had everything orchestrated for a much larger number of people, and then when we didn't need as many staff or as many people, a lot of the staff just end up do some more participation type roles. But at the same time though, we're not, it's not a cookie cutter event, and we're also not here to hold people by the hand and guide them along. So there's a lot of organic interaction and game development that comes from the players themselves, especially the seasoned players, because everybody adds a little something that I can't script, or if I did script, won't necessarily be the fact that people will follow it. So key people, whether they're staff or key people as well, they're just participants and players, are important to our organization and are key to success. I've run Milsim Command for American Milsim for 2 years now ish, maybe longer, maybe less. And I'm not dumb, I'm a successful commander, but I'm legitimately successful because of the people that I surround myself and that help me command my other staff. So so staff is very important to us. Veteran players are important to us because you people have lived it, you understand it, you get it. So it's having you people involved at the next event and the next event and the next event just makes it easier for the new people who don't know what they're doing or feel that these events are daunting. You have this guiding hand and mentorship, because that's what's the important thing about the communities that people get put into is just that it's a community. It's not there that you can be there by yourself if you want and never talk to anybody. That's fine. But there's a social interaction that's involved in our events that allow these communities to basically for people to look out for each other and to help guide each other along without having some omnipotent staff member there. But yes, definitely, point greatly taken. And definitely known. Our actual goal is never to go to giant, 300-400 person events. It just won't work with our theme. And actually, it takes away some of the intimacy that we got a great taste of this weekend. We had a good taste of beta, but as we kind of move into that 150, player or participant realm, we're going to kind of lose some of that intimacy, and that's important to me and Alex as players in this game. Is like I don't want to be able to not interact with my participants and customers. That just builds bonds of I don't want to say loyalty, but a rapport. Bonds and rapport that if someone needs something, they know who to find and what to to get the answers or to get help, and vice versa. In every essence, this is more of almost like a social experiment, than it is just an airsoft or LARP or bushcraft or prepper, type experience. Because I can honestly say there's no way we can ever recreate the same event. We can never recreate the same storyline or the variables in the event because it's just so organic. And a lot of that, what's going to make our events successful are you folks, the participants, the people that have been to our events, the people that will come to our events. And I'll say it later, but I'll say it now. Thank you guys, and gals, so much because without you, obviously, we're a bunch of knuckleheads, with ideas in our heads running around, not accomplishing much. But I'm bad at droning, so let me get the high points, low points, and then we'll talk about 2019. So let me retract. Let's talk about all these low points first, then we'll talk about the high points because I think a lot of people will have things to add to that. So weather sucked. We started late. We ended a little early. It was pretty wet Saturday night, and it was really dark Friday night, and that really cut into our nighttime portions. A, being a new AO, and B, skirmish paintball in the Poconos area is full of massive glacier till droppings, and if people don't know what that is, it means like giant, hand-sized to bowling ball-sized boulders of rock buried just below the surface, and it makes a very undulating ground. And it can pose, if you're not being careful where you're running around what you're doing, can pose, safety hazards. Friday night, again, we didn't have somebody who was bringing out some illumination devices for us to light up certain areas for people to roam a little bit more safer and have beacons to go to and from. We didn't have those. It was too dark. We had 2 incidences of 2 people who got turned around and lost. And I and any other experienced, woods person out there will tell you that, it could be in your backyard in the woods you've hunted your entire life. Once it gets dark, it's so easy to get turned around. So we didn't really do much Friday night. As much as we wanted to do. When the game started at 4, people could scavenge, shoot, loot, all that type of stuff. But once you started realizing it was going to be too difficult for people to navigate around Friday night, we basically just kept everything within the communities and just to keep people safe. Now on Saturday, though, when we had our tiki torches and more chem lights and stuff like that, I think that made for a much better night experience, which we wanted to have on Friday as well. But Alice and I and the staff, we do deeply apologize, for that. We feel that we robbed you a little bit on Friday night, and we'll definitely make that up to you folks. We'll definitely work on our start. Now I'm losing my voice for some reason, so excuse me 1 second. We have to IPA break. All right. So that being said, we had to make a couple adjustments for safety issues and game flow issues. But by and large, me personally, Desolation was another great, confirmation of ideas that me and Alex have come up with and enacted. It allowed us to go for where beta was a little bit more, it was a smaller AO, more congested, more ambushing, more role playing, more interaction. Desolation allowed for just that. It was more desolate. And we actually even played it down a much smaller piece of property than we actually rented. If we played the whole 100 acres, gosh, I'd be worried that people would even be seeing each other, often to be able to do much. So we kind of scaled everything down. Bigger than beta, smaller than we anticipated, but we had a smaller group of people, and I think things flowed well. There's enough room to wander around and not be seen if you wanted to, and there was definitely, especially on Saturdays when traveling, people, got to know the AO, got to know where they needed to go and whatnot. We did a couple of things also different with Desolation than we did beta, is that basically we predominantly put out all currency, which is, ammo casings. And we use a different variety of it. We're going to probably change it up, every event, and we're going to mark the casings as well, so people can't start bringing their own casings and nerf the game, as far as that's going to go. So in the future for 2019, be on the lookout. Ammo casings will be marked. It'll just to make sure that you're not getting rooked from somebody who thought they were smart and brought some extra casings in, with them. The perfect size amount of attendance. Honestly, it is. The goal though is to not for us always lose money on an event. But if I could keep it at 30, 40 people every event, I would do so. I think it's just such a much better intimate experience. That being said, we do got to scale up. But that's why a lot of you veterans that are attending our events are, again, as I said earlier, are going to be very important to that. And we're going to do some things to make sure that it becomes easier for you folks to keep on making it up, because we know how important you folks are to us as a company and our successes for our events. So weather sucked. We lost a few people. Some key role players didn't make it out. Some people got late. We got some props here a little bit less. So we started late. Friday night portion kind of sucked. And as we talked about in our debrief after the event, I totally own it. And I will make sure that never, ever happens again. Learning lessons, and sorry, it was at the cost of a couple hours of play. But it's a lesson learned, and I will reiterate once again, it won't happen again. We already have contingencies now in place for getting things running smoother and faster, and night games already going in the future. That's really about it. I feel. There's some safety issues that came about with it. The torrential weather comes Saturday morning. You can ask Alex. I was probably white, trying to get my clothes on as fast as I can. We had a downed tree that fell in the Southern Communities camp. Narrowly missed it. I believe our buddy Rich and Dan's had two different tents kind of landed in between there. And unfortunately, it just seems that Pennsylvania is dealing with a huge issue in their forests of tree rot, whether it's a fungal infection and or borer beetles. But there's just a lot of dead woods there. That being also said, though, is that the property at Skirmish Paintball was way better than I anticipated for us to use for the game. The site coordinator Sky was pretty outstanding and guiding us through, helping us set up some boundaries. There's definitely some things that we weren't allowed to do, but after talking to him and reassure him a few things, he gave us an okay to use our larger smoke grenades for our dust effect devices, as well as getting the fire barrels out there, which I think were very important, especially with the weather being so inclement as it was. So thoughts on restricting the amount of pyro people can carry. All right. So if people are chiming in, that's not a regular. It's probably all regulars watching this if they attended the event. So our resources are limited. So everything that kind of is usable or needed is going to be provided by the game. Because we're kind of still in our infancy here. Some discussions going back and forth with Alex and I. Is that, at least for this one, to help, especially our buddies Chris and Muggsy at Amped, who came out and vended for us and pre-ordered stuff for people, and even sold my boy a sniper rifle because his gun went down. was to so they can make some sales. But in the future, Pyro will probably be a game provided resource. That's how I've always envisioned it. That's how I did some other games I've done in the past. That may cause the ticket prices to escalate just a little bit. But we'll always give you more for any price increase. It's not because we're trying to increase money to put in our pockets. We're trying to increase the price a bit more so we can offer you more in-game to create a bigger, better experience. So Pyro will definitely be restricted in the future, and most likely than not, as long as I can get Alex on board with it, is that the Omega will be providing the Pyro, and it will be in-game. And so you can find, use it, and abuse it as much as possible. That means it's lootable. So again, when you find big booms and they're precious to you, you're definitely going to have to be mindful of that. Other than that, I think the resources went well. Big shout out to Will Ayler and John for acting as traders when Alex and I were tasked and busy doing other things. And again, and a big shout out to Will, because again, Will came out there early with me. Him, Charles, Max helped me set up and be there first thing in the morning. And these guys were grinding, especially Will. I mean, the miles that dude probably put on equaled my footage mile, if not more, of me and Alex. Because that guy was just constantly out there working. He did a great job role playing. Alex and I approached several people to help us out with this event for a reason, is that we're not here to micromanage. We're not here to supersede, or not to supersede, to oversee as like some overseers or rulers. We're there to get the right people that we trust to not fuck up our product and not to create a bad time for everybody else. Or as I always like to say in the Milsim leadership concept, is the people who are there for the greater good. And Eric and Ian, part of Guns Gamers, which if you don't follow them on Facebook or watch their YouTube channel, definitely check them out. They've been going around for a long time. Eric's a little bit of a hometown point of pride for me. I watched him grow up from being a giant goober into a muscular goober, and they can drink whiskey and beers with me now. So a little bit harder to do that before when I first met him, since he was a minor, and I'd just be that weird older adult trying to get them all, drunk and surly in the back of Kyle's, cabin down at Hunter's Creek. But now we get to hang, so that was really cool. I'm really glad that Eric came out for that. But anyhow, so I felt the resources went well. As far as, controlling that. But I mentioned Eric and Gun Gamers because they did put a video review out for Desolation. Now, there's a couple things I have notes on. I think it was a really fair video. There's some certain things I guess I want to say maybe I want to clear up, because maybe they just didn't maybe understand a few things, and they brought up a couple points which I think are cool, but there's a couple reasons why we might not be able to implement what they suggested. But if you got time, check out the video. It's under an hour, and it's actually a very narrated. Eric's been very good with public speaking and how these guys produce their videos across the board, from their funny ones, review ones. Whatever, they give me a nod for Omega and Desolation, so I'm definitely going to give these guys a nod back, and definitely check out Gun Gamers. Definitely worth it, because they offer a lot. I think it's a lot more refreshing content than a lot of YouTube video people are out there, and I'm not a big YouTube video celebrity guy, but again, these guys are friends of mine. I watch them grow up, but I really actually enjoy the content of their videos. But okay, so resource. So a couple things that were wrong. So, or not wrong, but maybe misconfused. So we allow people to bring certain things on the field, and these are like more personal things like food and water. So the rule set is you had to have up to a 32-ounce container. Right now, some of our rules are fixed, and some of them we have to change per event depending on the time of the year. Things just change, So our 6 to 8, stop shooting at communities to shooting at communities, that changes with dusk to dawn. So, I mean, the rule should just be dusk to dawn, but sometimes people have a hard time translating what is dusk and what is dawn. So we just came up with an arbitrary time for this last one. We use a different, amount of time on the beta game, and I'll try to get a little bit more in that, a little bit more detail. But I'm going to talk about the starting resources first. So water. It'll depend on the time of the year and the situation. A place like at Skirmish, correct? Yeah. So a lot of things aren't fixated, but yeah, I'll discuss about it. All right. So water. Water is not a fixed allotment, and that's going to change. Our ability. Oh no misunderstanding, man. It's all creating dialogue, so better explanation. So I'm glad you didn't misunderstand it I'm glad if you did misunderstand it, because it allows us to have a dialogue to explain it better, so more people will have a better understanding as far as that goes. So resources. So to start off, Desolation, I think we allowed you to carry up to like 32 ounces of water, like two 16-ounce bottles. But the rules stated that you had to have a vessel that could hold up to like 32 ounces of water, minimum. So that allows you to, when you find water on the field, as far as providing the game, or if you're actually smart, there's a bunch of creeks, especially for people going back, as we go back into 2019, that you can just get a nice quality water filter. I'm a big fan of the Sawyer Squeeze, shameless plug because it works. $30, fill up a bag full of water, hook up to your squeeze, literally squeeze the bag, and filtered drinking water comes out. So a lot of times, at our games, that there's water sources there, you may even have to be reliant upon some of the in-game economy itself. Other times you will. In the summertime, we're probably going to allow you to start with more water because we're more worried about, heat-related issues, dehydration, and this such. But if it's, like this past weekend when it's cooler and thirst is still important, but not as important, we can tone down the requirements and we can actually make it, less of a requirement for people to start water to make it a better in-game resource. So we're going to change some of these variables up. Fire allowances, again, depending on the AO, our area of operations or the event site, that will have to change. Some places are going to require just, fire rings. Some may be open. I highly doubt that one. Maybe some places might just be a grill or a camp stove capacity. So again, those are going to change, and we'll always get that stuff posted out before the events, so people know what they're getting into as before we kick off the events. Food, I think we found a comfort ground where, as in the Gun Gamers video with Eric and Ian, that really you can pack a couple of days worth of food if you shop smart and plan right inside a gallon bag. I had a couple people actually who are big eaters and actually went beyond their food or getting close, and then it made some of the food resources a little bit more desirable, which normally could be found in scavenge, but again, because we didn't want to trash or leave anything behind on the AO that's big and noticeable, because I think anyone that's been there, we saw a lot of old paintball bags and stuff that from previous people using it. I didn't want us to leave any remnants that we were there, and we actually cleaned it up better than it was left to us. I guarantee that. So we didn't want to put out big resources, baggies of BBs out, just because if they didn't get fined, someone's walking along, they're going to think they found some bath salts, up inside a little frickin' drug bag on the field, and it just looks crummy and it makes us look bad. So for Desolation, we went really heavy with our currency, which were the ammo casings. But I also believe that also encouraged more role-playing and dialogue with the traders, and people could actually get what they needed instead of finding a bunch of random stuff that they just kind of collected and didn't really do too much with. So because again, it's just because the nature of the beast, Eric, is that it's we have to cater things to the venue and what we can do. So it'll never be a fixated thing, but it's also going to make every single event a little bit different, and I think that's going to be cool because we're going to be forced to change small variables, and it's how people can start, act, and react, and as far as that goes. Now because it was mentioned, so again, people who are watching, so we people who participate gravitate towards communities. Everybody gets an assigned one to start off with, but you don't have to stay there. You can move to another community if you want. You can actually be recruited by antagonist factions. In the case of Desolation, it was E. House's crew as a bunch of nihilistic doomsday raiders, and they did a great job with it. And Eric, I do have your speech of secrets, treasures, and trust on video, and I will get that. I'll try to get that posted up tomorrow for everybody to see. Because Eric did a bang up job, throughout, and I'll talk about a couple of things they brought up, which may answer some of the things that they posed in their video. I think the resource aspect of things went well. We still thought people would shoot more ammunition. They really didn't. So we're pretty happy with that went. But ultimately, the thing is that the takeaway for me is that when we take our ideas, of trying to get people to cope with real life survival aspects as well as role playing and shooting each other and having a good time, is that achievable? And now 2 events in a row, knock on wood, it's been almost like 100% success that everybody had a good time, no matter what we threw at them, what they threw at themselves, what other people threw at them, what Mother Nature threw at them. So that's pretty astounding in my experience. Not trying to be like a humble braggart, but it's really hard to find that much customer satisfaction, across the board. But that's one of the reasons why we're not trying to push for big events. It's not that we don't want the wrong people. We want people to understand what it's about, because you get guys like Eric and Ian Ian's prior military. Eric's been around the block. He's done a lot of Milson West games. He hikes and camps and whatnot. So these are what I would call more 2-seasoned guys, and they just weren't prepared for the cold. So one of the biggest things is, as somebody who has an education degree that's never done any educating other than educating people on how to set your hop up or clean your barrel right or whatnot, is that everybody learns at every event. I came up with the idea, write the events. Alex fucking implements these events, and every event, even us, we've learned certain things like, hey, I need to do this different. I need to change this up. I'm not even talking about the gameplay. We're just talking personal things to make ourselves more comfortable, more effective. It's a constant learning curve, because the only opportunity that you have to stop learning is when you're dead. And the point in time that you give up on learning before that time, you cease to improve yourself, and you succumb to complacency and mediocrity. And so a lot of a sidebar aspect of our events is to encourage people to challenge themselves. Now, we harp challenge all the time. We're not making you run, go rocks and climb walls and these competitions like a Survivor. 99% of the challenges really are the ones that you face as participants and players. And what can you do to overcome those challenges? Or does it really start to suck, and can you push through? Or is it just easier to give up and leave, And I'm massively impressed, especially with the weather of this past event. And I already said already, a massive respect for everybody who was out there, because, dude, it sucked. The only time we legitimately cancel games at my home field, the war zone, is when it's between 30 degrees and 40 degrees and raining. And that was 90% of the playing time this entire past weekend that you guys went through. And gal as well, because we had a lady out there, Miss Naya, and a lot of respect to that young lady for coming out and a male, dominated hobby, for being a woman of African American descent, for coming out in a very, Caucasian, even Asian dominated, hobby, and for just coming out, time and time and again at our field, and through beta and Desolation, and proving that it's all up here. It's all a mental game. Because even that being prepared, she has some bad cards dealt to her where she was cold and wet on both occasions, and she powered through it. So massive shout out to Naya. and everybody else, because it sucked for everybody. It sucked for us in a freaking steel barn, that was freaking colder than the woods themselves. So I actually was jealous of everybody being able to stay in the woods, being up in the stupid barn. I'll never do that again either. See, we all learn, and I learned as well. Um, so I don't know. My overall takeaway is Desolation went well. If I could run it the same way time and time again, with Alex and everybody, I would do it. Well, we had phenomenal staff help us. Alex, my bro, tomorrow. Mike Pakula and Mr. Cooler, big help. Will, Charles, Gearhead. I don't even know what Will's call sign would be. Max, dude, Max, definitely a lot of help. Dan Porter helping out running the other community. E House and his crew running the antagonist, Raider faction. So much thanks to you guys, because again, without yous, we couldn't have made this happen. So my overall takeaway is I'm pretty ecstatic, and it was a lot of work. Freaking tired, but I'm legitimately so pumped for 2019 and what we're going to bring forth. So before I break into 2019, I'm checking out my time here. I'm trying to keep this at an hour because we talk too much. So let me talk about a couple things that the Ian and Eric that were so kind and humble to talk about in their Desolation review. So those guys acted as an antagonistic group, and one of the things that we did for the antagonistic group that we didn't do for all the other participants is that the antagonistic group actually got a bottle of BBs. With a couple caveats attached to it. I think some of it might have gotten a little forgotten there. So one of the caveats was that, giving the antagonistic group, which is supposed to be the mediator, the people that keep things on tempo, not a juggernaut. Never, ever was that meant to be a juggernaut thing. And honestly, you guys were never meant to run, 300 rounds altogether. I said to kind of keep it at about 100 rounds because if you did get killed, that's a lot of ammo, 300 rounds going out into the population out there. So I was always trying to keep it as a disparity. But it saved poor Alex about a couple of hours of time not having to bag up another 100 little tiny baggies of BBs for you guys just to keep popping open and doing it. As far as ROE, as far as the antagonist group, it's a lot of times I don't, there's some concern about, how NPCs in that capacity should be playing it out in the future. Is I'm not worried about that because when you pick the right people to do the job you envision, you don't have to worry about that. And even though you guys, started off with maybe 300 rounds each and realized how overpowered you were, you guys made the right decision, and it's the reason why Alex and I picked you guys to do that, to where you started to dumb it down, and because you realize it's not about you, it's about the game and what you could add to the game. So basically to get in these antagonistic groups, just like the guys from Buffalo Airsoft did the last one, it's just that, we have to trust you implicitly with our paying customers' well-being. And I also don't have the time nor desire to micromanage and babysit somebody to do that as well. So you really gotta, be next level, and trust with us to give you that blank check. But you know what? Just like I wasn't disappointed at beta, I wasn't disappointed this game. You guys did not abuse that blank check. And even when you thought you might have been, you made the right decisions and compensated to not do so. And so thank you guys for doing that because you did exactly what you're supposed to do. And that means a lot to us because, again, it means we're picking the right people to help us get the job done, as well as that you're solid freaking people that get it. And you'll always have a place at the bar, with me for beers. That's for sure. And that goes for a lot of things, like Will and these people. I go, keep people get it. It's the same people like in my command cadre. You got to have a good understanding that it's not about you, it's about everybody else. When everybody else is having a good time, how can you not have a good time? But if you're only worried about yourself having a good time, then you don't have as much fun, and that also extends on over to the participants, in the communities. I mean, the communities were actively working together and helping each other out, and dick and fart jokes and having a good time. And I guarantee both communities may not have known everybody in those communities at the start of the game, but I guarantee they're all pretty good friends now. After the fact. I mean, you're all good friends of mine as well. So it's that community aspect is very important. One of my biggest issues when I go to national at Milsom games and I'm going there to see all my friends. It's the excuse we use all the time. I'm going to this event. What up, Alex? To see my friends. Alex is one of them. So I'm going to go to Ironclad 3 in 2 weeks to go see Alex. But when we go to Ironclad 3, because we're in leadership, we'll hang out maybe 15 minutes here and there. Maybe we'll go catch some dinner and beer together. But the entire event, we're too busy making sure everybody else is having a good time. So, I mean, that's important to us all as well. But, when we go out there to hang out with each other, we just don't have that time. And the community aspect is important for that. It's important to the camaraderie. It's important for people to live and breathe the same challenges and different challenges and help each other out to thrive, because that's how you thrive in a real survival situation. The more people you have working together for a common good, the easier it is to be more successful. And that translates to any aspect of life, whether you're playing toy guns or your job or your wife and kids. When everyone's working together, we just get things done more efficiently and we can do more. But in a real life situation, it's hard to trust people that are randomly thrown together in a community. Maybe someone's going to be an asshole. Maybe it's maybe just people are annoying, but there's not a choice. And who you get to pick with sometimes. You just have to deal with those cards that are dealt to you. And our games are designed that if people just want to show up and hump in their gear and hang out their community all weekend long, they're allowed to do that, because that would happen in a real life setting. But it's trying to get people to be encouraged to go out and be active and participate is something that other people, need to do. But yet, at the same time, if people don't want to do it, then don't, check out and, go do your own thing. And the beauty is, even though you get assigned to a community, you can go out and find another one if you don't like the way things are developing. But the only caveat is that, how do you turn this up? Asking for a friend. Sorry, reading stuff now. All right, so we just basically would have had more communities. Let me read this again. The plan for 100 people I showed. So basically, we have more communities and we just have more staff in the leadership role. Not so much as a leadership into telling people what to do and not what to do, but just so I have eyes and ears on a situation, so we know what's going on. We know how to redirect, opportunities, as well as we have somebody there to check in to make sure everybody showed up, everyone's there at night, everyone's there in the morning. That we all adhere to the iPro on and off rules that we have, and just to make sure I have a focal point there. And if you need something, you can't get a hold of me, and you don't want to walk around 100 acres or trying to get me on a radio if you got a bad commo. You can just get a hold of your leader or your staff representative in that area, and then we can get things sorted out. So we have a giant, it's a safety net, because we have to be safe, especially in what we're doing with Omega. And we borderline, you're out in the woods. I mean, people can die of exposure, hypothermia, crap like that. So it's got to be, we have to have those safeguards up inside there, and that comes down to staff and personnel. And we basically can, exponentially increase or decrease the amount of people that we need to mitigate issues, as well as surrogate a positive experience and good times, just depending on the amount of people we have and or the size of the AO. Because sometimes small people in a big AO may still need more staff than a lot of people in a small AO. So we just got to have people to go track people down, find people when they're lost, and deal with medical issues if they ever did arise. That being said, so communities. So people can pick and choose. I think the rain and the weather really just kind of fixated people in fixed communities. But we're hoping as the weather gets nicer again, as it did in beta, people were bouncing back and forth between the communities a couple different times before they settled in. But the caveat to the community rule, if you want to move a community that you're at to a different one, is that you have to be in a community and set up for the night portion so we know where you're at. So we can't deal with lost people in the woods, somebody rolled down a creek and freaking missing or dead. Hey, someone's wife gets a hold of us, can't get a hold of somebody. We need to know where you're at or where at least you're going to origin from and go back to. So we don't mind if you ever swap out of a community, but we just want you to be in a community before dark, and once you're in that community, you're committed throughout the night portion. Once morning comes and we're game on, it's another night. Dude, you can pick up and go to a different community if that guy in the tent next to you is snoring. There's no harm or fault in that. So Ian and Eric we're talking about some aspects of the communities. So for Desolation, as I said, gameplay is off from dusk till dawn, and that's going to change as the seasons change. So in the summertime, it could be from basically 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. may be the cold zone hours of the communities. But what I mean by that is, so basically during the night portion, the communities get caution taped off, and we break blue chemical lights to designated distance that's it's illuminated area, and that then allows the communities which are in play during the daytime portion to give people an opportunity to kick back and chill out, to eat their dinner, take their iPro off, free from getting shot at. Now, it does not mean that the game stops in the communities, but there will be no BB shooting into the communities, out of the communities, or around the communities. Okay, so I think we cited on I don't want to say an extreme side of it, but at the beta game, we gave the bare minimum, of dark hours safe. So it was dark by the time we initiated the cold zone, and it was barely dawn breaking by the time we turned them hot again. So a lesson learned from that is because my boy Ralph and a couple of the Buffalo guys there is they want to raid a community first thing in the morning, just like Ian and Eric were talking about in their video. And sure as shit, someone comes rolling out of their tent, scratching their balls, whatever, and they didn't have iPro on. So even though it was well beyond the physical time, that was, because I think we said 7 o'clock was the hard time, that they could get shot at, whatever, people were still too blurry-eyed, and we didn't really that to the game to keep going outside the communities. No problem, Eric. Yeah, so the game keeps going on the AO. And I think, again, if the rain didn't suck so bad Saturday night and we had better illumination on Friday night, we would have had lit areas for people to keep on venturing to and get into some action, whether that's just scavenging, role-playing, or shooting and looting. We did that at the beta game. We kept tiki torches burning long after the antagonistic cannibal faction. And they called it a siesta, and people were still moving around and grooving and having things to do. So again, that was just kind of a little bit of, again, a faux pas on our part, so we didn't get night illumination there. Friday enough, and Mother Nature was just making it miserable and unsafe, and we just kind of had to recede from some more night portion aspects of things on Saturday night. But that being said, the experience still didn't end. People still went back and had to deal with, staying dry and warm in their own community. So the game still didn't end, even because there was no fixed battles or role-playing aspect of things. But so the game still carried on. So what we realized is that maybe we need a little bit of a better buffer for attacking the communities in the morning, other than like daylight. And again, because we're as Eric kind of hit it in his videos, like we're actually trying to, we're not trying to go for the hardest core players out there. We're trying to make it accessible for those who want to attempt to do this, because I think we all realize we can all do it. Because on both events now, the beta event as well as Jake at the Desolation, I mean, these are guys who've never gone camping before. And, this is, what we do is not like just going camping with your buddies where you got your car if you want to crash in if you need to. You got a cooler of beer, a hibachi grill. This is kind of a little bit more extreme camping, as far as the camping world goes. And good kudos, man, for people going out for never camped before, hacking it out, and not only just persevering through the weekend, but actually having a great time doing it. I mean, that's a huge point of pride for me, that if we can make people challenge themselves and do things they've never done before, and something that can be difficult and kind of be crappy at times, such as cold, wet camping, and actually have a good time out of it. Man, dude, I'm flabbergasted, in hearing stuff like that, because we work really hard to make sure that people are having a good time. But so we would like the concept of communities to be attackable, whatever. But you know what? As part of the social aspect of things, part of the downtime, part of the kicking your foot. You know what? The communities aren't going to be attackable probably in any time in the future, between dusk till dawn. Now that being said, I think we could have maybe went to maybe like 7 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. For the starting of the cold, and then maybe about maybe 7:30 ish. But we're going to retweet that. But we will make sure that, because the outside the community area is always in play from start to finish. At any point in time, people want to roam around. Sometimes people at beta, people got up there cold. They just went walking around and scavenge a bunch of stuff that people didn't find the night before, the day before. So there will always be things to do, But let's see, how people think we're trying to do it. Yeah, exactly. So I'm sorry, I'm stopping a bit to read some of Eric's points, because I actually respect a lot of the points that he's bringing up. And that's just learning things. There's a young guy, Christian, who went to the beta game, and he really was into it. He's a new player to Airsoft, a younger guy, maybe 18 at that. He might even still be in high school for all I freaking know. And he really was, working on, making a lean-to. He made a lean-to in his backyard. He stayed in it that night. And, after he tried it out a couple more times, he realized that lean-tos weren't for him. And he went out and he bought a cheap one-man tent. And he carried that in and used it. And that's totally acceptable, because, he's a person who figured out what he wanted to do. He tried it out. He implemented. He practiced it and realized it wasn't the solution he needed for himself. And he went and he made the decision to change part of his gear to give him a better chance of success in the solution that he found. And he probably worked out and had a good time. Tarps are tough shelters, man. Especially you being a big dude, Eric. I think that was probably maybe an 8x10, or like maybe it was like a 6x8. Dude, that's probably. Oh, that's bare minimum, dude. I'm a skinny dude, 6'1", and when I go backpacking, I think I use an 8 foot by 10 foot, because a little bit bigger tarp, you can actually do more variations than just making a lean-to or even an A-frame. Especially with the weather shitty, getting like a nice 8x10 for one person, you make that basically a diamond pyramid, dude. It's about as robust of a shelter as you're gonna get out of any tent out there. Yeah, no, it wasn't. But dude, like when I saw, I was like, dude, you're like literally. I was wondering if it was like to get your head wet or your toes wet, like laying underneath that thing. Yeah, so we got to get you a little bit bigger tarp, brother. But again, a lot of times Milsom West type of stuff, you don't have a whole lot of room to kind of make a bigger camp. You just got to make that bare minimum shelter, and make it work. But you're a big dude. You need a big tarp, dude. That's all I'm going to say, dude. I'm going to go on record saying that. Hey, Jocelyn. Cheers, hon. Marlena's sitting here next to me playing Laura Cross, so blah, blah, blah. All right, so we're probably not going to make the communities attackable, but we're going to make sure that people have things to do, and there will be things out there for people to gravitate toward, and people want to get into trigger time and their late hours or the early dawn hours, that will have that there for you, as well. So the antagonist group, I just want to say, definitely, it was a big trust thing. The antagonist group in Eric's video, they actually were held to the same max ammo capacity as everybody else. And they might have misheard me, but I told them to keep it at about 100 rounds. And even though they might have forgot it, misheard, whatever, they went big and they went back down on their own, because they're squared away freaking dudes who understand how to have a good time by making sure that other people are having a good time, and not how to have a good time because you're making other people miserable. So kudos to Eric, Ian, the Amped crew, Ty, everybody else out there. Good on you guys, dude. You did a fantastic job, and I definitely was not disappointed with picking you guys. And you will have a place with us as much as you guys want to come out and help out and participate. That Alex and I both firmly agreed upon. Safe Havens beta game, talked about that. Chill out time, cool ammo. Talked about that. Risk reward. So even in the beginning, when the antagonistic, nihilistic Raider faction had more ammo, you know what? That is to kind of also be a not a juggernaut to go roll people and have a miserable time, but that if I need don't allow people to go this way, then people won't go that way because the fear factor that you guys, make because you had so much better resources. Now, it's also to say that, most antagonistic groups are usually traveling into an area or established in an area, and they've already been looting resources. So a lot of the communities are individuals coming together, and for like-minded causes survival. But the antagonist groups are usually been, storyline-wise more pre-established. So they're going to be better armed, they're going to be better off and better resupplied. And that's why it's also so important to kill them and take their stuff, because they're always going to be a great source of, thanks, Josh, I appreciate that. They're going to be a great source of ammo. I mean, just as much as looting and trading, that killing the antagonist groups are a huge implementation of sourcing ammunition in this game. But you got to be smart about it. I mean, like, one guy may get the jump on them, but you know what? That's where smart. Work smarter, not harder. Comes into play. That setting ambushes and taking them out. If you can do it, you can get big rewards, out of it. But it just won't be easy to do in the beginning because your participants are so starting off in despairing situation of low ammo and resources and whatnot. But you know what? Once you take on, big risk equals big reward. Most times than not. And if you get lucky in the beginning, I guarantee someone would have been freaking happy. Not me. If you would have killed Eric in the beginning of the game, it would have got 300 rounds from him, or him and Ian. That's 600 rounds. I mean, gosh, I think that might be what a whole community shot the whole weekend. You guys would have been styling. But you also would have been a threat, because guaranteed they would have been coming back for you to get their ammo. Or somebody would have. We have travelers in the wasteland that drop rumors and stories like that. So you always got to be cautious of that. That's it's a great video. Again, the guys put a lot of great disclaimers out there. They're our friends. We did have them come out to try some things out for us. But I felt it was a fair and honest review of what we're about. And Ian and Eric, thank you for that. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely do so. So let me go back real quick and try to recap and see if there's anything I didn't talk about real quick. We talked about the scaling up if we go to more people. Yeah, Max was really cool with his freaking apples. He left them back instead of freaking handing them out to everybody. Yep, Dan's a cool dude. We have so much good people out there. The new guys, old guys alike. New to Airsoft. Not. It was such a great group of people. And honestly, I couldn't have ever anticipated Alex and I, putting out a better event than that. Cool. So all right. So let me some takeaways of the event. For myself is we have a spot on our website. It's not populated yet, but as soon as I can get through these next 2 American Milsim events, we're going to start sneaking in and filming some videos. Now, there's a plethora of videos of bushcrafting and prepping, survival, airsoft, all sorts of videos like that. But we're going to do videos that are very specific and taking skill sets very specific to our events. Proper ways of starting fire, proper ways of getting gear, layering up, and because you don't need the most expensive stuff out there, at all. I guarantee you that. And I'm trying to work on 2 different projects here. I'm trying to do a project where everything to do an Omega event, other than your iPro and an airsoft rifle, can be obtained basically through thrift store shopping and a Walmart. I'm not even going to the surplus army because not everybody has a surplus army shop and whatever. It's something that you can just roll into Walmart, because I've seen a lot of people are doing that, and like what gear to buy, you can actually make it through. That's going to be a physical presence of walking into a Walmart. We live in an e-commerce world, and if you can e-commerce and you can get to like Walmart online and Amazon, between those two sources, you can get very well kitted up for minimal pricing. And Omega will be doing like an Amazon kind of like gear list as well. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to use this stuff. We're going to go out there. I'm going to camp with it. I'm going to show you how to set up a plastic freaking tarp the right way to give you the most protection from the elements. The right way to think about going about your clothing and layering it, and how to introduce your clothing as part of your sleeping system. The importance of insulated pads, not air mattresses, but foam insulated pads that gets you off the ground. So we don't have an academy out where we live, Josh. So that's why I'm trying to stick to Walmart, just because it's everyone's got a Walmart. But I think we got like a Dick's Sporting Goods, maybe. I think that might be like Academy, and we got Cabela's and stuff like that. But because it's going to be too random, and overall, if I can give a core idea of what you can get from Walmart to make it work, it'll become much easier then for people to supplement that with other things that they may own, and or what they can find elsewhere, or what things to look for when they're going out and shopping for this stuff. Because a lot of times it's just, I felt people were a little bit, I don't want to say underprepared, but I think maybe people undervalued is not the word I'm looking for. Underestimated the bitchiness that Mother Nature can be. And some of the issues of how like sleeping bags aren't rated right. So what if a sleeping bag says it's good for 20 degrees? Dude, that's like a 40 to 50 degree bag. That's not comfortable. You're not going to be comfortable at 20 degrees. That's a 20 degree bag will keep you from freezing to death. But you will not sleep, and you will be sore from chattering all night long. So just certain these things that, certain little skills, to help you with the actual coping and living mechanism of the game, as well as some certain things to kind of help, with like loadouts, costuming and whatnot. We're going to change a couple of things as far as our rules go. We realize that I think people understand the spirit of the game and what we're looking for, and we don't have to be so draconian and having such a large rule set on what you can do and can't do. We're just going to rely on people to do what they feel is right, which is probably going to be the right thing to do. Though I can say, we got a little bit of resistance to not using chest rigs and plate carriers and stuff like that, dude. I'm ecstatic that I don't think a single person who's been at the beta game and or at the Desolation will have said that they somehow felt that they were hurt, unprepared, or needed that plate carrier, chest rig, or whatever. Because really, you don't need much, and the whole theme of this event is to do more with less. And you don't need all this battle armor and stuff to do like that. We're probably gonna make some changes though that would allow more surplus gear, especially when it comes down to environmental protection. A good Gore-Tex jacket's way cheaper to get a surplus store than if you would buy one online. But again, what we're not going for is like full freaking Cry multicam top and bottoms and stuff like that. Yes, the satchel was king. If you're not part of Satchel Squad rolling at Omega events, you're missing out. The satchel is great because the satchel is a small little thing you can carry on you with your main bag with all your camping gear, or even stowed in your backpack. But it's a nice thing because you can put a little extra BBs, a radio, first aid kit, a couple of bottles of water. So the man bag, the man purse, or the satchel will probably be the hot item of Survival Omega in 2019, and probably for some time to follow that as well. So long live the satchel. And if you don't know, you will. That is for sure. Scratch your foot for life, dude. You got that right, brother. So we're going to do some videos and stuff like that to help people get a little bit more prepared and planned, and some ideas just to help better prepare people from going into the event. But again, I don't think anybody had too miserable of a time as of yet to where they actually walked off and not played anymore. So, yeah, it's amazing, Andrew, like what you really need and what you don't need, and everybody starts out with a lot, and everybody moves to, more minimal as time goes on because you're more comfort, less stuff, less weight, less things to worry about. But as long as you got the things that you need to sustain yourself safely and appropriately, through a weekend of play. Again, I'm a big backpacker. I mean, you start to figure out a lot of my personal interests are all wrapped up into Omega, as well as Alex and many people who attend these events because we're like-minded souls, coming together for a silly LARPy survival toy gun game. But I'm what they would call an ultralight backpacker. Like, my backpack, when I go backpacking for a couple days at a time, probably, before I have water and food in it, is like 9 pounds. And that's my backpack, sleeping bag, tarp, sleeping pad, clothing, stove, everything but physical water weight and food weight. And what you start to realize when you get to that point is like, what do you really need and what you don't need? What serves multiple purposes, and what what can you and can't get away with. And the big part of getting to that point, and it works, and it will work with Omega as well, is when you bring all the stuff out for your first time, make a list of everything you brought, then make a list of what you use, make a list that you didn't use but you might think you might use another time. Now, take in mind, like first aid kits and stuff like that, those you always bring and you hope to never use. So that's not something that you go like, I don't need an individual first aid kit this event, But we even talk about like what you need to have in a first aid kit that you can actually use. Having a tourniquet and not knowing how to use a tourniquet, you're just carrying weight. You don't need it. And anybody that needs a tourniquet that knows how to use it will have a tourniquet. So they won't need yours. You don't need to supply everybody out there. But simple things. Ibuprofen, some anti-diarrhea medicine, and some Benadryl is about what most people need. Something just to wrap up a burn or a wound real quick. But I'll actually show. I mean, my entire first aid kit that I normally go backpacking 2 weeks at a time is like inside a sandwich bag. You really don't need much. And all we need to do is to stabilize you to the point where we can get the real medical professionals, which, mind you, several of the staff members are Red Cross First Aid certified, and some of the guys are Combat Commando certified, as well. So yeah, right on, dude. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's just stuff like that, So yeah, so it's learning what you really need. What did you bring? What you can do without? What can work? Redundantly. So we're gonna do some Omega stuff on that type of stuff. Yeah, I know you and your Mountain Dew, dude. Yeah, whatever. Too bad there's no Mountain Dews allowed, but you never know if it shows up as a scavengeable resource. What would Alex pay for a Mountain Dew? What would he pay? But anyhow, moving along, because I'm now well beyond the hour mark where I wanted to be, and I'm droning. So definitely going into the 2019 season, look for us. We're going to do some video series. I'm going to get with Alex. I'm going to get with Cooler. We're going to definitely show people, what to bring with you to make sure you can start a fire that's when it's wet and miserable out, how to keep warm and whatnot. And, just because it will, things will change, but these are still good skill sets to know. These are good skill sets to have and know outside of these events, because you just never know. You get your car breaks down on the side of the road, and cars are not insulated; they're cold and wet and miserable. So you get to figure out how to maybe use stuff that we're using in game and will actually benefit you. Heaven forbid if a real life situation ever manifests itself. Or at least how to be more tolerable, or how to impress your friends next time you're camping and they can't start a fire when you pull out two little whittle sticks, and next thing you have a giant blaze going. So look forward to that type of media stuff coming from us as well. 2019. So 2019, let's talk about a couple changes in the rules. The biggest one that's going to be out there is that, as we already discussed, is better illumination of night lit areas, especially in bigger wooded open areas, so people aren't getting lost. And if you can't figure out where you're going, where you go, dude, just chill out, dude. Just bring some marshmallows next time, roast up some marshmallows, have a good time. Don't put yourself in a situation that you shouldn't be in or don't want to be in. We're going to be talking about compasses and how they're important, especially even at dark. The compass allowed me to zip around that AO no problem, because I knew what direction I was leaving from, and I knew what direction I needed to go in to get back to where I started. So we'll be talking about some of that stuff as well in our YouTube page or channel, whatever, how you talk about that stuff. Which I'll probably come to you, Eric, for some editing points, since you got some good jobs going out there as far as your editing and stuff goes. The biggest thing, at least I'll drop right now for 2019, a cool game mechanic is we have these dust clouds. I mean, everybody calls it gas, and especially military guys, which I guess that's to be expected. But they're actually supposed to be dust storms. We allow basically anything that would allow dust particulate from coming inside and breathing it will save you. So if you got a freaking shema or a baklava or something like that, you could put up a t-shirt above over your head. That would stop you from breathing dust, and that keeps you alive. And what we're starting to realize is that's too easy. So going into 2019, to not be killed by these smoke grenade induced dust cloud storm effects that we have going on there. Big shout out to my boy Darren, Omar, and Castro at Enola Gay. If you're running events, spend the money, get a hold of the event promotion, movie prop promotion, cloud makers. Dude, they burn so awesome. They're so good for taking an entire woods and putting them in smoke. So big shout out to our boys at Enola Gay for bringing in awesome products to help us with our game, specifically this game mechanic. So when this dust clouds, this yellow smoke comes through, if you don't have a breathing apparatus and you get caught in it, you're dead. You can't be medic, nothing like that. So in 2019, you are going to need a respirator breathing apparatus or a gas mask. And if it's a gas mask, you cannot take your eye pro off to put the gas mask on. So it's going to be something you have to wear the entire time. That's a proper safety rated eye pro gas mask, or you can't use it. But I think the dust masks are going to be the way to go. And don't mess with the eye pro or my dogs, who are agreeing with me right now. They're barking, yes, go with the respirator. But yes, if respirators are a little bit more funky, you don't always want them on your face all the time. They don't sit well and are irritating, rubbing around your neck. So that the respirators are going to be the way they go. If you want to live through dust clouds 2019 and beyond, you're going to need a respirator, just because it takes a little bit more work to put on and it's a little bit more difficult than going, oh, dust cloud, I'm safe, bang, 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 we carry on. You're going to actually have to dig the thing out and get it on, and it's going to be more of a pain in the butt, and we think it's going to make the games better because it's going to challenge you. So everybody go out to Harbor Freight Tools, drop your $20, get yourself a respirator. You won't need the filters in it. I won't lie. The filters do help to actually, if you get the right respirators, will help. So you're not inhaling smoke if you want to really roam around in those smoke-filled areas. Respirators will be the rule. The only thing that's going to save you from being inside a dust cloud 2019 and moving forward is going to be a respirator. Again, not changes in the rules, but just reiterations. Water allotment that you will need to start with, and what will be attainable, and how much water storage. That will depend event to event, depending on the situations and environmental conditions. The fire allowances for cooking or warmth, whatever, they'll also depend on event to event, as far as that can go. But the change to a gallon Ziploc baggie full of food, we felt that worked. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too little, so we're going to adhere to that. And I will do another little video because Miss Naya was a little bit jealous of my boil-in little macaroni little packets, and I'm going to show you how to basically take a lot of that stuff, dump it into Ziploc freezer bag, quartzite bags, and you can add hot boiling water in those bags and reconstitute food up inside that. That being said, 2019, not too many. Honestly, fogging is more the moisture between your eyes and your goggles themselves. A lot of times, respirators should not cause you to fog up more unless somehow condensation from your breath is coming up through the respirator up and into your eye area. But yeah, the rules don't say it's a prop right now, and the rules don't say you actually have to have filters in your respirator. You just have to have the respirator. I choose to leave my filters in my respirator because if I was going to walk around some smoky area, it's nice to know that I'm not inhaling anything in my lungs that I don't want to. Campfire is the smoke in my lungs of choice. Not always by choice, I should say that, but at least I don't mind. So the rules, I think, were pretty solid on a lot of things. I think between beta and Desolation, it allowed us an opportunity to try a couple different things out in different environments. A lot of people, little people, big area, small area, and I'm pretty content in discussions with Alex that we're good to go as far as that's going to go. But be mindful. I mean, we're always looking to tweak things a bit to add a little bit more to the games and whatnot. And like I said, we did learn a few lessons on making sure that we had certain things squared away to get things started as soon as possible. So the last thing, or last two things I'll talk about, we're going to talk about a quick tentative 2019, first half of 2019 schedule and what we're working on, as well as when we're going to go back to skirmish. Are we going to do anything local as far as the Western New York area goes again, as well as maybe a change in format. So one of the things that we are at least concerned about as a growing company is outreach. And while we're developing a good player base in the the Northeast area here, Alex and I and any others that want to go travel with us or allow us to travel too, we are going to take Survive Omega and we're going to bring it to everybody and anybody across the country that's will make it economically feasible for us to do that. That being said, we start to realize that some of our things can be, some of our aspects of our events can be intimidating, daunting, or whatnot, or just may not work for timing, personal timing of even Alex and I. So we're not going to do a fixed format of Omega. We decided that we're going to offer basically two different versions of Survive Omega. And one is going to be more beta-esque, which is going to be about a 24-30 hour game, which will start Saturday morning and go continuous to Sunday afternoon about 2 o'clock. That will be lower barrier of entry, so it'll be cheaper to get into. And it's going to be less timeline. So for people that are concerned if they can hack it or not, it'll be something I feel that will be easier for them to gravitate into, to where it won't be like, well, hey, you know what? It's only one day. I can survive one day in the woods. For some reason, 3 days in the woods can be dramatic to some people, especially people who aren't prone to camping or desires to want to go camp. And if the barrier of economic entry is lower, it'll be like, hey, you know what? It's worth giving it a shot. We'll spend less money if it doesn't work and I don't like it. Well, I'm not, $300 invested into an event. So that also being said, there is something to running a elongated game, and there's what I truly were eventually going to build Omega to is the pure challenge game that I envision from the get-go. But to get to that point, we got to get people built up in the proper skill set, the interest, the desire, and the means and the abilities to want to get to that point. So we got to build up as a company, and we know that. So we're probably going to do a few 3-day games, like the 48-hour games that we've been talking about, that we want to do. But the majority of the games, especially as we leave outside of the area, getting into going out in the Midwest, down in the Southeast, out to the Arizona, Wisconsin, and Massachusetts area, we're going to probably scale those down just so they're economically doable, and easy for people to try out and participate. And once we get the growth in those areas and the desires there, we'll turn those from basically 24, 30-hour events back into the 48-hour events as well. So we're going to be basically doing a more intensive version and a non-intensive version. And honestly, the most intensive versions, and I think anyone can attest to, again, it's totally doable. It's a play at your own pace. You don't need to do what you don't want to do. You participate as much as you want to participate, and you don't have to participate at all if you don't want to. But if you did that, you're just robbing yourself from the experience. So we're going to be probably working out two different formats. So for as far as our tentative 2019 events, is that we're in the next week or so, we should hopefully be trying to get very close to finalize and announcing our first event by as soon as possible, which should be sometime, we're hoping, at the end of January, and that's going to be down in the southeast. So that we're still working on. We're hoping then about April, end of April, depending on scheduling of other events and conflicts. We're going to get out into the Oklahoma, Missouri area mid-spring. We feel that's a great time to do something like that out that way, right before the tick season comes and the heat comes in. And then if everything goes right, we're... What?
Josh, it says you're still in the channel.
Huh?
No.
Sorry. I thought someone had to deal with something. So I'm sorry. Southeast Florida, Mississippi area, first of the year. Oklahoma, Missouri area, mid-spring. And that should be pretty dope. We'll hopefully have that solidified quite soon as well. And then if everything goes right, just because I know my boy who went to Desolation is about to drop a baby, so we're trying to get back to skirmish no later than like the first weekend of June. We're working to try to get our deposits in and stuff like that so we can lock down the date. But we're looking at right now, we're going to go back to skirmish paintball to do Desolation 2 first weekend of June, I think is what that works out to be. We might not be able to get to Missouri itself, but we feel that where we're going to go, maybe in Oklahoma, is pretty darn close to Missouri, so we feel it might be a good compromise for all of our friends in the Midwest. But I don't want to reveal any cards until I actually have the cards to reveal, and so we're just going to keep that under wraps until we get that squared away. But yeah, I'm totally stoked. Actually, I'm looking forward to greatly going back to skirmish. There's definitely way more potential to that place than I initially envisioned, and we'll make it bigger and better, and then we can easily run 100 people on there, not a problem. Desolationer, more desolate. How about Desolation 2 more desolate? I do like Desolation 2 Electric Boogaloo, but I think you can really pretty much do that with anything 2 Electric Boogaloo. But such as the friends that I have, see, it's a group effort. It's not a man is an island by himself. But so that being said, we are looking to, as much as my buddies don't want us to go to it. If it works out right, some buddies of mine have turned me onto a pretty big and kind of not as newish paintball field, but new to airsoft field in Wisconsin, and with Mr. Rodney Pitts, and I'm hoping to get with him coming the first of the year and get out to Wisconsin and check out their place and make that place happen as well. So 2019 is, dude, I think it's going to be pretty freaking cool. And I'm not just saying that because it's half my company or whatever. But dude, I really want to play my events, and Alex really wants to play our events. So we know our friends like us, and you know what, Matt, when is your baby due? Honestly, I'm not joking, dude. That is my concern, that we get back out there, because I want to see my boy Matt out there again before he has baby number 2 and wife says no. But I knew he said at the beginning of summer, so I'm hoping that beginning of June was not too late. To get you back out there. But if not, maybe we'll do a little bit closer to spring, whatever. Good luck. Yeah, Thank you for all the good names. All right, so that being said, I'm going to wrap things up, real quick. So totally stoked about 2019. We got a great group of freaking people. The staff already, more staff to be. To everybody that came out and participated at Beta and at Desolation, on behalf of Alex and I, thank you ever so much. We're really stoked about this, and you guys and gals are just making us more stoked to be able to do this, because you're just going to end up being a bigger and bigger part of that. Ian did make a mention on the Gun Gamer videos that the people that went to Desolation will get a discount on the next event, and we actually do plan on making that an SOP. Our goal is not to continue fleece our reoccurring customer time and time again out of their money. Our goal is to grow this product, to grow this experience, to grow the people that want to come out and participate in. And for those that want to keep out, you know what, dude, we're good. We're going to get the bare minimum we need out of you to cover our bases. But yeah, anyone who participates in a mega event will always get a discount code to get it that much cheaper for their next event. As far as that's going to go, because again, we realize again we succeed by you folks succeeding. So big thanks to everybody involved, all the participants. Thank you folks so much for trying this out, sticking it out, and succeeding yourselves. You did survive in every ounce of it, at both events, and especially at Desolation. I mean, that was miserable. You folks definitely survived. Quick shout out to Will and John for trading, or helping us out with the trading aspect of things, and the role-playing aspects as well. Big thanks out to Dan Porto and Max Dibble for being our community leaders and staff involved in that. Couldn't have done that stuff without you guys. I mean, you guys made me feel safe about making sure that everybody else was safe. So thank you guys, and incredibly, you guys did such an important job you didn't realize it. Huge thanks out to my boy E-House, Ian, Amped, and all those guys, for coming out and making shit happen. Because again, it's it's not easy to give somebody a blank check, and and when you find the right people, you can give them a blank check to make the event better for everybody else. They're the right people, and when at the end of the event, that they spent that blank check and actually gave it back to you in change, fucking right on. So fucking totally stoked with my guys, the Buffalo Airsoft guys, and their help. And the Gun Gamer crew, I'm looking forward to working with you guys both and carrying on what we're doing here. So pretty stoked with that. Big thanks to people who sponsored us. We didn't really seek sponsors. Sponsors actually came to us. And through kind words of friends and the friendships that we have with the people in the industry. But that just means that people value what we're doing, and they have faith in our ideas, and in our inception is now, and it's basically coming, proof of concept is where we're at. So Amped Airsoft, dude, thank Chris Hoyt, thank you for coming out. Give my thanks to Kurt as well. He probably won't even remember me. I don't even think I had a beard back when I actually knew him back in the old school John Lou days. But the Amp's been around for a long time. I appreciate them. So thank you guys for coming out and vending, pre-selling, and a donation to our end of game raffle. Big thanks out to Jen and Ted Gibson from Leviathan Tactical. They've done a lot of things to help us out behind the scenes, and as we get down southeast, I expect I'm almost having to beat Ted away with the stick, like he wants to do too much for us. So much love to Leviathan Tactical, another local shop. Support your locals as much as possible. Amps they got a big e-commerce stuff. They're big in HPA, but dude, they're still a small shop with realistic guys. So definitely, if you're gonna buy something online, I can get you hooked up with my boy Leviathan, Leviathan Tactical, or Ted Leviathan Tactical. And if they can't go to the guys at Amp, dude. They'll definitely set you squared away. I spent a lot of my own personal money with Amped and Leviathan Tactical. I'm going to give a big shout out to a lot of people who allowed me to kind of get to this point where a lot of people who don't know me. Is that JP, Rick, Bo, and Blake at American Milsim. I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in Camp Shelby in 2 weeks and go get some Milsim pew pew on. I want to give a huge freaking thanks to Jim and Dan at Redline Airsoft. Jim totally hooked us up with a Redline Milsim N7 pneumatic HPA engine and a remote line, the SFR remote line to give out to a customer. Who happened to win it, which is actually freaking Max. I mean, the dude paid to be staff all weekend long and freaking crushed it. And I won't sound like a douche, but I'm going to. I'm actually pretty stoked. Max won that because the dude's deserving of it. He puts in a lot for us. And the luck of the cards, as they may be, he got it. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm sorry, I don't know who won it, but we Omega, we did give out a free ticket to any of our events and for 2019 as well. So that was a pretty cool way to end things off. But thank you everybody who participated. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for staffing. Thank you. Excuse me, beer burps. Thank you all for buying in and believing in this vision. Dude, there's no stopping us, dude. In 2019, I think we're going to see bigger and better things with Omega and great successes because we're not doing it ourselves. We're doing it with you folks. And with you folks in our corner making the stuff a success, dude, it's going to be awesome. Awesome times ahead. So much love to you all from me and Alex. Look forward in the next couple of weeks. We should hopefully start hitting up with exact dates and times of our events for 2019. We're getting those deposits out right away, so we have all this shit locked down. There won't be no questions when we post an event. The event will happen. Otherwise, we're out money. So yeah. So we're good to go. Much appreciation, and until the next time, be safe. And we'll talk to you soon. So cheers to you all. Much love, and to all a good night. See you in 2019. Peace, baby.